So your M.A.C. capsule collection comes out this week. Can you tell us a little bit about it and specifically how you kept women of color in mind when developing the color palette and why it was important?
Well, I've always loved MAC makeup. I've always loved makeup in general. In fact, when I was a little kid, even like 7 or 8 years old, I was already doing my own face with my mom's makeup and also doing makeovers for all the women in my family. In fact, I used to earn, this is embarrassing, but I used to earn allowance plucking my mom's eyebrows. You know, other kids vacuumed, I plucked
7?
eyebrows. At 9,
Okay.
at 9. I remember doing it at 9. And so I've always loved makeup, and I've always loved MAC because when I was a model in the 90s, there weren't a lot of companies making cosmetics for women of color, and specifically for people with color like me, you know, my skin color. And I remember every time I went to visit my family in India, I would bring truckloads of makeup to them, but never the foundation. And the colors would always be hit or miss because most cosmetics, whether they're American brand or European brand, are made by Caucasians for Caucasian skin. So, you know, from a very selfish point of view, I just wanted makeup that would look good on me. I love color. Yeah. I wear a lot of eye makeup. You know, it's part of my Indian heritage. It's all eye focused. But we have 6 beautiful lipsticks in the collection I'm really proud of. And so this is a long time coming. I've been working on it for almost 3 years, but I've been thinking about it for many, many years.
Can you talk a little bit more about the eye makeup and specifically how your Indian heritage is shown through this, just for people who don't know?
Sure. I mean, most Indians wear eyeliner, like even boys when they're young. We put eyeliner on children even, and it's usually black. And I remember my grandmother making eyeliner at home by burning a root, and then the soot that you get from that is collected in a little pot. That's what's called kohl, K-O-H-L, right? And so I was always used to seeing this every day, you know, women putting this on. It was almost a ritual. And I think if you look at Indian culture, there's a lot of self-adornment that goes on, whether it's oiling and braiding the hair, whether it's rubbing the bride's body the night before her wedding with turmeric paste, all different kinds of things. So from a very early age, I began to associate female bonding and femininity with 2 things, with makeup for beauty and with food for love. And those things are very intertwined for me because I remember, you know, peeling the mango, chopping the potatoes, but also sitting there mixing spices, and then on the same floor oiling our body and hair. We used to have hair baths, all the children, oil baths, but we would oil our hair and our bodies, and then in the weekend we would all have a root called shika that's powdered and then made into a paste with hot water, and that is used as a weekly exfoliant. So there were all these rituals, you know, for self-care or whatever that just seemed natural to me.
It sounds so sacred when you talk about it. Does it feel that way?
No, when your grandmother, I mean, it does sound sacred, but when your grandmother's like trying to get the knots out of your hair and she's got you in a headlock between her thighs, it's not as sacred as I'm making it sound now, but there were a lot of us, so she had a lot of work to do. And, you know, I just wanted colors that were vibrant, that were super saturated, that looked on my skin the way they looked in the pan.
Okay.
You know, because a lot of times when you're darker skin and you buy makeup, it turns gray or ashy or puce. You know, pink turns puce. A lot of blues and greens will just turn dull gray. And so I wanted a makeup line that was inclusive. I wanted a makeup line that worked on many different skin types, because even within my family, you know, there are very dark-skinned Indians, there are very light-skinned Indians. Same goes for African Americans, same goes for Latinas. And, you know, what I'm really proud about is that we also gave it to a lot of drag queens to play with, and they've been really supportive.
The true test.
The true test is right, and they love the product. And I've been seeing pictures people have been posting, and so a lot of different people of different backgrounds and ages and ethnicities have been wearing the makeup, and it's just coming in because, you know, we've just started doing it, and it's only in stores this week, but I'm really excited about it.
That's wonderful. And how does it feel to see your face, an American woman of Indian descent, as, you know, a face connected to this huge campaign. And what do you hope it means for other women and girls, especially of color, who see that?
It's wonderful. I mean, this is a worldwide campaign, so we're launching it in India, we launched it in Europe, we're launching it in Mexico, in, Saudi Arabia, all different parts of the world. So that in itself is really exciting. Right. And I think for me to go back to India and launch it in India is a really big deal. But I grew up in this country, and when I was growing up in the 80s, there weren't really a lot of people that looked like me in magazines or on television. So I'm happy that, Mac decided to do this line with me, also because the picture is stunning, and I got to shoot with Mario Sorrenti, and that's, they're such a good team, and they work so well. They know what they're doing. So from just, frankly, a strictly vain point of view, I'm really excited to have that photo. But it is nice. The one thing that's been really meaningful to me, whether it's through the publishing of my memoir a couple of years ago or through people seeing me on Top Chef, the fan mail I get is quite compelling. It's really, really poignant, and some of it brings you to tears. If I'm standing on the corner trying to get a cab, I have a lot of women who are in their 20s come up to me, but also men that say, thank you. You're the first person I saw that looked like me. I love how you talk about food or whatever. And it's nice now to have that because I didn't have it. So I'm glad that the next generation does.
Yeah, I was wondering, what would your teenage self think about this moment? Could you ever have even imagined it?
No, because I didn't even I couldn't even imagine most of my career, to be honest,
Well,
because,
true.
I had my car accident when I was 14, and I was a model before Photoshop was really mainstream. And for a long time, I did the lowest rung of fit modeling just to pay off my college loans. And I thought I was pretty. People told me I was pretty, but I didn't think I was that caliber of model pretty. So when it happened to me, it was quite a shock. And I was like, okay, well, I need the money, so might as well. So that was something that I never thought would happen. Also because of the scar. When we think of modeling or fashion, we think of everything being perfect and ideal and commercial, right? But to me, now as an adult, I can say that is not interesting to me, even as a consumer. Right. I'm brown, but I want to see black faces, white faces, brown faces, all different faces. My definition of beauty is much more expansive than a very narrow ideal of someone who's a size 0 and probably 16 years old and, all of that. There's place for everybody to me.
Right, and you bring up your scar, and you've been really outspoken speaking about your scars, your stretch marks, just anything that might be considered a flaw. How is your relationship to your body and also to makeup, just to your appearance in general? How has it changed over the years?
It's changed quite considerably. I have to say that at 47 to have a makeup campaign is pretty cool. Yeah. And I feel better in my body today than I ever have. I'm sure I had a better body when I was 25, but I think I was also still forming myself as a woman. And so I feel more in my skin now. I'm not looking to look like someone else. I'm just looking to look the best version of me. And so I'm actually fine with nudity or a very sexy dress or a very low-cut dress. I'm fine. I'm totally fine with showing my scar. My scar, in the end, it was the thing that catapulted me as a model because Helma Newton shot with me. And so, looking at yourself through someone else's lens, a lens that many people think is very authoritative and amazing and artistic and, whatever you want to call his work, that changed my opinion of myself. Sometimes you need somebody with more clout and value to tell you what you should already know. And so, I've had a very, like most of us, a very complicated and evolving relationship to my own body. I also suffered for years and years with endometriosis, so I felt like my body was turning against me in some ways, and I couldn't understand it, and I didn't get the medical help I needed, but now I'm fine. And the thing I'm most glad and thankful to my body for is letting me have my child, because I was told I would never have children, and so I take care of my body as much as I can. I exercise, I eat well, I, do whatever I can on a regular basis. But I also think I'm much more comfortable. I've always been a very sensual person. And by sensual, I don't just mean sexual. I mean of the senses. And I think that's why I'm a good cook. If I've never worked in a restaurant, and I'm not a chef, I'm a food writer, I'm a home cook. My job is to teach you how to make a recipe when I'm not standing in the room. Being a chef is something else. But I think the reason I'm good at my job and good at judging or, writing books or whatever is because I eat not only with my eyes and my nose and my mouth, I also eat with my ears. Sometimes when I'm cooking, I can tell when something is done by how fast the popping noises are in the frying pan. It's certainly true with mustard seeds. I mean, that's not a bit, any Indian cook will tell you that.
Right.
But I think that eating is a very sensual experience. It's a very visceral experience that really engages all of your senses. And it is the one thing that we engage in every day that is the most sensual thing we do and is the thing that we need most for survival, other than water.
I'm sorry, you do make everything seem sacred, so it's really a gift. I want to go back to one thing you mentioned. You talked about being more comfortable in your skin and how you'll wear something low cut. So recently, someone called you out on Twitter for, how did she say it? She was an immigration activist who called you out on Twitter saying, we don't need in 2018 seeing Padma's boobs squished up on TV. And you had a really, I thought, classy and funny response. You called it a piffle, which is now my favorite word.
Piffle, yeah.
but you talked about how, you praised her activism as well. Why are we still asking the question, can women show their skin and be feminists? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. And it's a thing that I struggle with because, I want to look beautiful and I want to look sexy. And if I've taken the trouble to work out as much as I do, especially after to finish Top Chef, I feel comfortable, and God damn it, I may not look this way one day, so I want to document it while I do.
Right.
I've been everything from a size 4 to a size 14. I gained 40 pounds when I got pregnant. I wasn't one of those girls that lost the weight right away and went on the runway in her lingerie. That wasn't me.
That's good to hear.
It took me over a year to lose that, 13 months, where I just felt like, okay, I was back to normal, not even my skinniest self, So I do think you can do both. But I think that society likes to put people in boxes. So when she made that comment, I was like, so what? Why can't and there was another comment that said, well, it's clear that she has no control over content. So, and then I was like, actually, I do. I'm an executive producer on my show. I don't have control over a lot of stuff, but I do certainly over my own person and what I wear, And also my boobs probably were squished up because I'm consuming 8,000 calories a day. And that was toward the end of shooting.
Right.
And I gained 15 pounds, and we have dresses in 3 sizes for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's how fast, look at the food I'm eating. But yeah, I answered her back that way. And then I also know that I have been snapped at online, or some little thing I've said innocently gets, starts into an internet brush fire. So then I went back and I said, well, who is this person? And I went to her site, and then I went to look at a blog she wrote, and she's a professor, and she's an immigration activist, and so then, there was all this stuff happening, and, I have really loyal fans. My fans are from all over the world. They're women, they're men, they're of all ages, and they piled on top of her, more than anything I could do, and so I went back and said, look, leaving your uncomfortableness or your issue or whatever I said, your discomfort with my boobs, that's just silly. Let's talk about something else about you, not me, which you're doing, which is actually really cool.
Right.
Because I just wanted to extinguish that brush fire. As fun as it was to have everyone stand up for me. Like, I could tell that this person was a really good person, and she just kind of said something, you know. But I don't know exactly how to react to a lot of comments, so I just let them slide sometimes. I think it's better.
Probably best a lot of
It's
the time.
hard,
But I like
you
the
know.
way that you did that. Something else that came up again on Twitter was on the Top Chef season finale, which just happened. You were wearing Planned Parenthood pin along with your co-hosts, and some people were upset about that. Some people called you out and said, "Why is my favorite show getting political?" What went into your decision to show your support in that way, and what would you say to the fans who were upset by it?
Well, you know, I would say everybody has a right to their own opinion, and I'd like to make it clear that I wore Planned Parenthood because I was expressing my opinion, not the opinion of my network or my show. And I brought those pins. I've been supporting Planned Parenthood for a long time. You know, I've donated to them. I've given them my time. I know Cecile Richards really well. So it was, you know, I was with them at the Women's March. It was my honor to be able to do that. And I just had a handful of them, and I just went to, you know, my other judges, and I asked Tom and Gail and Graham if they would mind wearing them. And immediately, without blinking, all of them said, yes, I'd love to. Yes, thank you for giving me this. You know, in fact, we had guest judges on that episode who wanted pins, and I just didn't have enough. And, you know, because I didn't want to go to a guest who was just on my show for one day and say, here, wear this. I didn't want to put them on the spot, because I do believe that everyone has a right to their own opinion. You know, and I was actually in love with a person who was pro-life. Like, it happens, you know, and I respected his opinion and he respected mine, and we could discuss those things, you know, but I think we've all gotten very polarized.
Yes.
And so I'm interested in talking to those people who don't agree with me. I'm happy to hang out and have a beer with the people who do agree with me, but, you know, I'm preaching to the choir, right? So I think we need to really listen to each other more. I think there's a lot of talking on TV. There's not a lot of listening.
Okay, so one more thing on that, and then we'll go to the audience.
Sure.
You are an ambassador for the ACLU. You're speaking at the UN later this week as part
Yes.
of Women's Month. And you're a feminist activist. And I want to know, I'm curious how you define feminism personally for yourself, because I feel like people have a lot of different ways of defining that word now. So what does it mean for you, and is there room for more than one definition, in your opinion?
I don't think there's room, actually, for more than one definition. I think there's one definition. It's very plain. If you're a feminist, you believe that all people, including women, half the population, deserve to be treated equally. We deserve equality under the law, in our culture, in our marriages, as parents, and as professionals. We have, you know, a long way to go. We've come some way, but we have a long, long way to go. And one of the things that infuriated me is that, you know, we were protesting and we were marching, you know, on January 21st, 2016, for some of the same stuff that women in my mother's generation were protesting for 40 years. So have we come a long way, baby? I don't know. I really don't know. But if you believe that everybody deserves the same rights, then you're a feminist. It's that simple. It's not hating men. Has nothing to do with that. You know, I love men. You know, I love men. I love women. I wear bikinis. I wear lipstick. I have a lot of lipstick. I wear high heels. I am a feminist, and I don't think I want to hear from everyone, as I just said 5 minutes ago, but I don't think I could love someone who wasn't a feminist, because I wouldn't respect them, because I would feel like they don't respect me. Because if you say, I'm not a feminist, then that means you're bigoted in some way, that you think I'm less because of my gender, or that I deserve less than someone who's a man. And I think that person is crazy. I do, you know?
Well, thank you. Let's take some audience questions.
Hi.
Hi.
Was there anything on Top Chef that you refused to eat?
You know, I can't. I can't refuse to eat anything unless I see something that's bad for my health. I am duty bound to eat everything. I am, because, you know, we're actually a game show. Of course, we're a food show, but we're a competition show. So I have to legally taste everything, because the other judges, they only taste 50% of the food. We have guest judges that do judge with me for the quickfire, but I'm the only human being on Top Chef that has eaten every single thing made. Yeah, and so, you know, it's we do that to be fair. You know, I don't ever want a contestant to feel like I didn't give them every opportunity to win that challenge or to stay in the game or succeed.
Just a follow-up. I grew up having turtle soup as a kid.
Yes.
And it seems so foreign to other people, but that was just something that our family actually had as a famous restaurant recipe. Is that something that you've had previously? Or?
I haven't had turtle soup, but I have eaten kangaroo and rattlesnake and bison and elk, and I've eaten some really funky stuff. But I thought you were going to ask about the eyeshadow, frankly, but that's okay. That's all right.
Hey, Aaron McLewis. I was gonna ask,
Hi.
how do you stay fit with all that amazing food that you eat? But I guess we ran by it. But what's the most exciting thing that you're excited about with this new launch?
Well, I'll answer both your questions. I'm really excited for everyone to try the makeup, because, you know, when you're dark-skinned, and if you have women in your family, I'm sure they would tell you the same thing, you know, you don't want to wear just dark eye makeup. Like, we like to wear pastel eyeshadows too. And, you know, what happens when you put that on darker skin is it looks chalky and it doesn't show up like it does in the pan. So there are two eyeshadow palettes, each with 4 colors in them, and some of them are dark, but some of them are also light. Like, there's a beautiful baby blue that's named after a famous painting by Edward Hopper, and so it's called Hopper Blue. The painting is actually Sunday morning. It's at the Whitney here. And there's also a cardamom green, which is like a sea foam sage green, and that looks beautiful. I've put it on my black girlfriends. I've put it on a very pale girlfriend from Poland. I've, you know, used it on a lot of people. So that I'm very excited about. I'm very excited that women of color will have access to a whole range of shades that weren't made for their skin tone. And so that, to me, is really exciting, especially for young teenage girls. You know, for a lot of young women, they can't go out and buy a fancy pair of shoes every day. They can't go out and buy a designer purse. For them, their main splurge, the gateway to luxury, is a lipstick, is an eyeshadow. Like, if you're a teenage girl and you like makeup, you know how excited you are to bring home a lipstick and try it out with this eye, you know, with this lip liner or with that look. So that's what I'm really excited about. The way I stay in shape, and I have to lose the weight that I gained. What it takes me 6 weeks to gain, it takes me about 12 weeks at least to lose. There's no mystery. I don't eat wheat. I don't eat meat. I eat white, like I eat chicken and fish and shellfish. I don't eat red meat. So no wheat, no meat, no dairy or sweets, no alcohol or fried foods. You must say, what is left? Well, potatoes, brown rice, a lot of vegetables and fruits, fish, a lot of lentils. When I'm not on the show, if you've seen the show, you know I eat everything under the sun. But when I'm not on the show, I'm mostly plant-based. We probably have meat twice a week, and by meat, I mean fish or something. I eat a lot of eggs, but I work out a ton. I box 2 to 3 times a week. I jump rope. I lift weights, like old school weights, nothing fancy, you know? And then I do Pilates. And sometimes if I don't have access to any of that, I will just find an emergency staircase and I'll just go up and down the staircase. I'm like Sisyphus with that rock, you know? I just keep pushing it up and then go back down. And I just have my headphones, and I find it very meditative. And I just have to do it healthy. And when I'm on the show, I just have to cut myself some slack. I have to say, now is not the time to worry about your figure. Now is the time to do your job well, because that's what I owe the 150 people you don't see who are behind the camera. Thank you.
Can we have time for one more?
Hi, Padma. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. I just want to first wish you congratulations as a woman of color, and for you to just reach this plateau, this platform, and this stage in your career. So, just first want to wish you congratulations.
Thank you.
My question for you is: you're working with M.A.C. The brand is under M.A.C. and which is secondly under Estee Lauder.
Yes.
So could you talk a little bit about maybe have you had any influence with Estee Lauder, with William Fabrizio, any of those guys up there? Have they helped you out or give you any pointers with your brand?
Well, I mean, I've known a lot of the people who work, you know, at M.A.C. and Estee Lauder and the executive team like for years and years, and we've been talking about doing this collection. You know, the makeup containers themselves are different if you see them from what M.A.C. cosmetics usually look like. And this is actually inspired by those old 50s and 60s compacts that Estee Lauder used to make. Yeah, because they feel like a jewel. They all have mirrors, and they feel heavier than a lot of the packaging that you see. Beyond that, you know, the M.A.C. team, you know, all the Estee Lauder companies are pretty independent. I mean, of course, you know, the head office is aware of everything they do, but the M.A.C. team was super supportive. You know, this collection was supposed to come out a little bit earlier than it actually did, and I wanted to wait because I didn't get one of the colors exactly right, and I felt like it was worth waiting for. I didn't want to make makeup that had some of the issues that I felt my makeup had all along, like, you know, in decades past. So I took my time doing it, and they were super supportive. Like, you know, you have to send these colors back to the lab, then they come back, then you have to tweak them, then you have to see not only how they wear on me, but how they wear on a different variety of skin tones. Then you have to wear it for, you know, like 10 hours. Does it oxidize? It was a really big learning process for me. So they were very patient with me about that. Yeah. So I hope it leads to more women of color, more products for a variety of skin types. There are actually more brown people in the world than there are white people in the world. So it's a big market from just a consumer point of view. It's good business for Estee Lauder to think about this. And I think most of those populations, the Indian population, Chinese population, the Brazilian population, these are all really young populations too, and so it's a good idea for that. And I think we're broadening what we think of as beautiful, and that's good news, not only for me, but for my nieces and my daughter and all of the women that will come after me.
Good news all around.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Padma.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.